It is a special day where we are going to discuss about issues of our nature. In life, human has categorized days depending to the role that has been played by a particular contributors. We have this Christmas Day, which is a special day for the Christians to celebrate for the birth of their saviors, the Jesus Christ. We have the Eid al-Fitr for the Muslims, where they also celebrate for the Isa. We have the days like Puja in India. We have the day like Diwali. Each of these days, they have specific point behind. They are set to honor for a particular an individual who had contributed to the lives of people. Environments, the place where we are living, has made a lot of supports and it's still supporting for our lives. And therefore, we had created and announced a specific date each year where we shall be discussing and giving honor to the Lord that environmental pray for our lives. Therefore, 5th of June each year is called the World Environmental Day. This is the day where environmental specialists, stakeholders, and other individuals of the similar discipline, it is a special day for them to speak before the public. What the message they deliver will depend on the themes of a particular year to a particular area. We have the worldwide theme, which can also be narrowed down to region, nation, and sometimes to a village level. In this year, we have a lot to discuss about what is taking place over the globe. We, as the stakeholders and shareholders in the disciplines, we had also to speak before the public. We have a lot to speak about this because environmental is one of the disciplines which is intermediate. It makes link in different perspectives and different areas, socially, politically, economically, and culturally. In whatever the discipline that you enter, environmental should be one of the components that should be undertaken into consideration. The speech and the information that we need to deliver to the groups could even start from an individual level, goes to the family level, the community, the nation, and then to a general, international, and a global at large. So, as an individual, with you, my friends, we are going to discuss, to present a short descriptions about environmental in our own perspectives on this particular day. Let us move together, share some information from which we can implement saving our environmental and lives in general. I am going to present to you today on this specific day for us as specialists in the field, and the topic I have named it as unrecognized role of potential indirect paying species. And this is for a community changing paradigms for an endless battle for environmental issues. I should have the pen first so that I explain it to you. This topic is very, very nice for today to discuss. It comprises of some relevant information that we need to understand while we are trying to speak about environments. But there are some components of the environment they are not recognized, though they play some importance in direct paying activities. Because they do not provide a direct role to the lives of an individual, therefore they are not recognized. Simply because they provide indirect roles from which some individual cannot easily witness them by their naked eyes. So we need to give this lecture today so that the community should have a changing paradigms, so that we can make the end of this an endless battle over the environmental issues. Before you is Mr. Gisandu K. Marunguja, a research scholar and an emerging ecologist from Ecology and Biodiversity Lab, TESBA University. Without wasting more time, I will go direct to the points. When we all agree from the psychological point of view, there is no doubt that human beings are naturally selfish. They tend to appreciate the sources of the environment, which could or can provide the direct laws with positive contribution to their lives. The key idea is to provide to improve their social, economic, and cultural related perspectives. While on the other hand, humans tend to unappreciate the hidden, but the potential and the crucial, but simply because they are hidden issues of all components of the environment, but because they cannot provide the direct roles, the nature and the behavior of human beings being selfish, tend to ignore and do not appreciate what they are performing on the environment. Because of the same scenario, now we are suffering from a lot of problems without knowing even what the causative behind. You can see this is some sort of pictures where we find some relevant species are killed because of human interest. They are making destruction, deforestation, and burning from some forest. They are destroying some buildings, materials of the termites without knowing what could be the law behind such buildings. Had we known that without such neglected component of the environments, those which individuals tend to ignore, then the direct benefits that we receive from the seen objectives won't be there. We couldn't make such big mistakes had we known the role played by these unseen, indirect individuals, indirect species, component of the environment. We couldn't have managed to do the destruction that we are doing for them. Because what we are receiving, what we are getting from the direct sources had already contributed by the component of the environment that is not seen or cannot see what they provide easier for our lives. Therefore, because of this unrecognitions of some component of the environments, now we are suffering from an endless battle over the environmental issues. We are suffering from issues like global warming. Today, the world is sitting before a lot of summits trying to speak about the climate change. We are discussing about of species extinctions, waste management. We are discussing about a lot of changes which are taking place of the globe, the environment in which we are living. And under normal situations, when a person speaks about the environmental day, the World Environmental Day, it seems to be very simple in its a normal physical sense. And exactly what not in our mind is all about the available forest and their components such as a tree and big animals. That's the notion that comes with us when we speak about these issues of environments. And therefore, we think about the availability of water bodies and their pollution status. We think about the element of weather and the climate change dynamics. We sometimes conceptualize by simply making some cleanliness of our surrounding to save our immediate needs. When we speak about these environments, we sometimes intend to implement its issue by simply planting trees, conserving some medicinal and attractive plant and animal species. These are some of the concepts that we normally understand from the idea when we speak about the environmental issues. We think about what is taking place in some areas where water bodies are drying. In some areas, there is issues like floods, where the buildings, the settlements are changed into water bodies. We think about the air pollutions. We think about droughts and the drying of some species. These are some simple concepts that we normally tend to think when we speak about this, the concept of environmental day of the globe. However, the concept of the word environmental day is very complex and sophisticated, such that if we turn our discussion on it, we can even make a book with a kind of volume that had ever experienced on the world of writings. That meaning we could bring about a big book with a lot of pages that have never been experienced in the world of writing. When we decide to go in detail trying to explain about it. That's why specialists has made some branches from which we can be integrating the environmental issues in different perspectives so that we cover them. But when we take it as it is, it's very complex scenario. The sophisticated nature of this topic ranges from microscopic viewpoints to a complex taxonomy of classification. In short, it addresses and highlighted complex system beyond the narrow idea that we have. And this is out of our discussion. We cannot go detail on that. It attracts a series of complex interaction of several components that work in the state of dependence. and provide integrated overview of the physiological, behavioral, and ecological of the available biota in a given context of what we see in the physical environments. It encompasses all what gives us beauty and enjoyment of the world lives from which we are earning our national economy through the so-called tourism and the research projects that are taking place in our natural physical environments. Despite the complex dependent nature of the core of this environmental and its components, we as a human, we address some of the issues of the component of the environments in a wider and in a general way, such that it is easily perceived. But we tend to forget to address some important issues, component of the environment, which plays the indirects that we cannot see easier. But what we tend to see is the outcome of these components' activities. These components, they play major roles in the dynamics of our environment for our better health here and ecosystem at large. But still, we had paid little attention on them in different occasions. If I tell you one thing, you will agree with me that in most of these nation and international conferences trying to discuss about the issues of environments, they tend to explain about a lot of issues of which they seems to be the outcomes. When we speak about the global warming, when we speak about the climate change, when we speak about air pollution, when we speak about waste disposal mechanisms, those are the outcomes of some components of the environmental being not handled properly from the beginning. That's why national and international conference, they are trying to address the outcomes of issues and tend to ignore the causatives of this, simply because they are hidden and they provide indirect roles from which we are not in the position to figure out unless you are getting water into the field. We tend to ignore the inclusions of some of the topic even in our education systems. You can go to some continent like in Africa, some countries in Africa. Some causes related to environment are those which provided the general overview, forgetting some of the typical elements that needs to be addressed and well structured from a school curriculum. Only few options for such specializations can see their importance, whether in research articles, but most of the members of community cannot be in the position of assessing even these research papers. Therefore, the knowledge regarding some of the informations are specialist-centered, but they are not easily delivered to the communities. If you visit most of these environmental related books in our classroom, you will find they are talking about renewabilities. They are talking about plantation of tree, afforestations. They are talking about the anthropogenic activities. and how you could prevent them. They are talking about planting of trees, as I said. They are just talking about the beauty of tree, the beauty of large animals, the beauty of large birds, the beauty of water bodies, the significance of fish, the significance of tourism, the significance of mountains, without understanding what's beyond the mountains, what is beyond the big tree we see, what is beyond the nice rivers we see today. And therefore, there is a need for us to discuss. There are several questions we may ask ourselves to conceptualize the idea. And among of these questions, I can share some with you here. And I can use a simple example that we have observed recently. Recall the movement of these locusts, which happened in East Africa, particularly in Kenya and Tanzania, some part of the eastern part of Tanzania and northern part of Tanzania, like Kilimanjaro, where there was a huge migration of this locust from Kenya to Tanzania. On the other sides, we observed the same cases that we have been reported in some states of India, where there was a movement of these locusts a few days ago. It's within the last week. Therefore, the movement of this grasshopper, the locust, not the grasshopper, the locusts, from one place to another, ecological, they were trying to move from one place to another for their ecological successions. And that is a normal situation in ecology. Any movement of a species from one place to another, there is some ecological reasons behind as why they are trying to move from one region to another. But however, most of the authorities, they had tried to initiate some destructive ways to destroy these insects, simply because they do not provide a direct load to the lives of an individual without knowing what is behind these migrations and the presence of this species to the world. I had some information that there were some special task force that were being made to those countries with the intention of making spraying of this species with chemicals. You can see, this is the task force. They were spraying some chemicals to destroy this species. While spraying, remember there are other species on the sites or the ecosystem. They will also be dying. But they don't care, we don't mind, simply because they do not provide a direct role to our lives. We sometimes tend to put even some poster with the instruction, get leads of this grasshopper in our garden by simply killing them, not just taking read in another way, biological ways, rather killing them. Then my question is, do these locusts cause death to human beings? In fact, the answer is no. If the answer then is no, why are we killing them? By spraying with some strong chemicals, very strong solvents, we kill them. Why do we kill them? Don't we have another mechanisms to reparate them to another direction, as how we do with other large animals that provide a direct economical role for us. We have big animals like elephants, animals like lions, animals like tigers, animals like giraffes. Once they escape from a particular jungle or the national park, they are so dangerous such that they even kill individuals. They destroy some human properties, but they are not killed simply because they provide a direct role to our lives. And therefore, what happens? They are given some special escorts, special care, and they are taken back. They are taken to retreat to their original positions. And when they tend to fight against their movements, the rangers tend to follow them day and night, protecting from any danger, assuring their lives, simply because they bring us some tourisms and other related perspectives, of which they are directly economical roles to our lives. But we should also remember the lives of these elephants, the lives of these leopards, the lives of these tigers in the ecosystem they live, they depend on the presence of the species that we are today destroying. We are today killing simply because we cannot physically see their role. Therefore, with this simple remark, there is a need for us to adjust, rethink in whatever destruction we are planning to do for species that were created by God on this particular world. Each species which is available, they have a specific law that were brought in by our creators. Destroying them, we are destroying the system behind without knowing. At the end of the day, we see the repercussions of the effect, which is now killing our survivableness. Today, for instance, in South America, when you go to South America, for instance, currently, they are enjoying with the presence of animal species like the Mycova species, the giant ant, Panthera oca, the jungle, we call it jungle. They are enjoying with the Jacana jaca, this species. They are enjoying. They are enjoying with the presence of Aruata, the species of monkey. This. They are enjoying the presence of this Cabusa epara. They are enjoying. They are enjoying of the different kind of species. And these are the species which bring a lot of tourism to their areas and increase their national economy. But the survivalness of these species depends on the simple, small species that do not provide a direct role to human lives. The lives of these species won't be achievable without the presence of those small species that we destroy, simply because they do not pay a direct contribution to our lives. Similarly, this is already already discussed. Similarly, in India, for instance, when you go, I take you to India. India is a very complex process, characterized with diverse of this cultural and climatic condition. Some places are savanna in nature, we have dry tropical, green tropical, deciduous and complex system, depending on the states and the nature. Some places are characterized by the acacia-related species, where some places you'll find this large-lived species like Tectona grandis species. You will find issues of the fresh euphorbia, which is common in Northern Africa, and the same dry-related ecosystems in savanna. You also find some grasses species, of which they also can be found in other places of the world. Apart from these grass-related species, you will find some animals of which they are now acting as the symbol of the nation, where we find these Bengal tigers, which is not common in Tanzania and most of African places. This is highly found in these Indian areas. You will find this rhinoceros, a one-horned rhinoceros, which is very rare in other places, except in Indians, very common. When you go, you visit these Kaziranga national parks. When you go to Nameri national parks, you'll find this. We have this Asian elephant, the small elephants is compared in Africa, which have big, very big elephants in Africa with big eyes. But here, they are of their styles. We call them Asian elephants. We have the water buffaloes. When you visit the state like Manipur, you will find other species. In Africa, you will enjoy the presence of African elephants. You will enjoy the presence of giraffe. You will enjoy the presence of zebra, wildebeest, dik-dik, ostrich, the biggest bird of the world, and other more species. You have this spotted deer, which is very common in India. All these species here, they provide a direct role to a nation in terms of economic tourism as a symbol in culture. We have some trees, the Tectona, for example. They call it Seguni in India, the Segun. So this is plant species. They are good as the first class timber of the nation. And therefore, you find they are highly protected, highly taken into consideration, which is well and good. I appreciate that. But we should go beyond what causes these species to survive. What causes these species to find themselves in a good environment, in a good place? Why are we trying to destroy other species which tend to provide useful information to the species, the big species that are direct paying for us, and ignore the other species? My dear, some species here, let me take my pen as well, so that I direct you very well. Some species has not yet given some priorities in different nations and international debates, as I said. Though, without their role, other species that are providing different and dialects significance to human lives won't be there. Do we really know that without dung beetles, seed disposal, and the promotion of soil fertilities, and the decomposition of organic materials in the soil would be impaired? Do we know that? Do we know that without bees, without butterfly, without healthy fly, the concept of pollination process could have been impaired? And then, where could we get the fruits that we are now eating? When you visit the markets, you find a lot of fruits of different types, ranging from simple to complex, cheap to expensive, but they are all from the wild. Even if they are not from the wild, if it's cultivated, do you know the mechanism behind the formation of those fruits? That you go and visit the market and buy for your family and consume for them? Do you know that it was the bees, it was the butterfly, it was the housefly that they played a significant role beyond what we are consuming today? Had you known such simple ideas, you could have to appreciate the role of such species, and you should have not to make any destruction based on your unseen benefits. Without termites, do you know that promotion of soil aeration and support of plant growth and rapid nutrition circulation won't be achievable? So today we are enjoying with the big tree, where we extract some timber, expensive timbers, but we don't appreciate the role played by some species that accelerated to the big tree we observe today in the physical environment. As I said, we tend to appreciate the physical environment and ignore the hidden phenotypic related characteristics that are beyond the normal eyes of ours. Do we know that without this grasshopper, that we tend to view, kill, and ignore their role? The birds that you are now enjoying visiting the bird places won't be there, because birds depend mostly on the presence of this grasshopper. We visit some places, we view the birds, we enjoy different color, different species, different mode of lives of the particular birds. We sometimes use digital instruments, zooming with high zooming capabilities. We enjoy with our families, we celebrate, and we pay money for that. Rather, we forget that there are some species that they play a big role for the presence of what we are viewing and observing in the physical environments. You find these beetles, they are trying to lure these big particular rollers. I don't know what is inside. It was from this simple idea, and they collected into this one, and they are rolling from one place to another. Have you ever tried to ask yourself beyond what is inside and why this? What God created this species for, what particular reason behind? Think of the butterflies, the mechanism, why they go to the flower. Think of the housefly. Think of the termites. They are trying to destroy very huge big trees that has been fallen in our forest. And they are trying to recycle some nutrient back at the soil. and then new trees will come up again. New grasses resume, and the leopard, the cheetah, and all species that will provide a dialect role depend on these issues. Have we ever tried to ask ourselves that there is the need of making conservation? Or we are typically influenced by economical regimes? How are we trying to create the future for our children? Because our children, they are not now observing the role or the reality, the goodness of this leather. They salute on the big animals only, like elephants. When they hear of that, they say, this is good. My father said, don't kill. But when they find the housefly, when they find the beetle, when they find the butterfly, when they find the ants, they don't even consider as part and parcel of the ecosystem. We are to think twice. This is an important message over this today's day. Therefore, with this remark, I would ask my friend over the group, whatever has been created by God, they were created with purpose. Whatever you intend to do to a particular species, do it with reason, knowing that the killing of a particular species, you are making a great destruction over the other. I hope you had captured some points. Thank you for your time. Once again, welcome.